And for us to be present, it means we have to literally retrain our brain, especially if we've been traumatized or we have addiction in our background. If you just recently used, what happens is your brain goes woof, and it goes right back over to like, I'm not going to be present, I'm not going to be present. So you literally have to force yourself to come to a spot where it's like, I'm here. I'm ready to work. I'm ready to do this. So a lot of times, I brought this up before, is you can be, let's say you get a DUI, and then they tell you have to be at a class like this. We can be at a class like this, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're present. You're here, but there's a difference that takes place inside of our heart and our mind when we connect. And we've talked about the heart, the brain, right? And then the heart brain, which literally your heart has its own brain, and then the stomach brain and how they all connect together. And when you're totally present in the presence of God, it's like, whew, that's all connected. If it's disconnected, you'll feel disconnected from him. You'll be like, I don't know why other people, they just feel so close to God. It looks like they're really, I don't know, but not me. I want that. Well, part of it is getting aligned right? God created us to be aligned a certain way. And so what happens is when we live a life of sin, everybody here has done that, right? And so when we're without Christ, it's automatically the top thing is your body runs the show. Your body tells your soul and doesn't really want to hear from the spirit. So if we're a three-part being, body, soul, spirit, then that's how it runs it. Then you give your life to Christ, and it's all of a sudden that will flip. And it's supernatural. It'll flip your new creation, because now the new creation comes forward, and now it's spirit tells the soul. And body, you're just coming along with me. We talk a lot about that because that is recovery. If you take the fact that, I got arrested for meth or whatever, or I don't know, I got violent, whatever the situation is, and it's the fact that you were following your body, and your body had some cravings, and it told your soul what to do, and your spirit didn't get a word in whatsoever, now you can show up for class like that, but until that flips, you're not really present. To be present in a moment, you are a supernatural, spiritual being. And the more you're lined up, the more the super on the natural comes forward. And you're so stinking present, like you can feel the vibes off of people. You know where you're at as a person. You're in touch with what's going on in your surroundings. Now, the average American is not present. I don't care if they're in addiction or not. How I know this? Stuff can be stolen at Walmart right in front of people, and they just stand in line. Push their guard ahead. And I'm like, that guy's, he's taking something right now. But people aren't aware. They're not self-aware, and they're not aware of their surroundings. And literally, a lot of what we've been trained is we're trained inward and up close and personal. And so if you have any evangelism in you at all, it's always way out. You see the pool of people when you walk into Walmart. It can be exhausting sometimes. You're present, and you're looking at the pool of people, and all of a sudden you're reading and feeling everything that's going on. But we're trained opposite of evangelism. We're trained opposite of the evangelistic way. It's about me and mine right here. I was at Walmart one time, and I saw a whole deal go down. And if you're straight enough, right, you know when something's happening because they play the same scenario. So here's this person, and they had underwear, guys' underwear. And so the chick's standing by the bathroom door, the men's bathroom. She's standing, she's got her foot up like this, and she's like, no one can see me. I have these underwear. That was the whole look, right? Well, the checkouts are here. They didn't pay for the underwear. You can see she didn't pay for it. She's all nervous. She's watching to see everything. And then all of a sudden someone comes by, and they're like, whew, they take the underwear, and they go into the bathroom. I'm like, obvious. But, they weren't even good at what they were doing. But in their world, it was all what was happening right in front of them. No one could see me. And so then he goes into the bathroom, and then it's taken a while, and she's pacing, whatever. And all of a sudden another guy goes in, and he takes something else. He just walked real quickly through the line. He had something in his hand. No bag, so you know they didn't pay for anything. They just grabbed the item. Well, you know, the guy that was in there was putting all the stuff on, right? Because people will put on 4 pairs of underwear, right? And then you walk out, and they're on you. How are they going to tell, right? So, and it's all going down. So I go and I talk to the checkout person. I'm like, that's happening right here, right now. Oh. She's like standing right in front of it. And her job is not to beep anything. She's standing at one of those little kiosks just watching, and she can't see it. And I'm like, it's like right in front of you. But she couldn't see it. Then when I pointed out, well, it's too late now. That's all she said. Too late now. It's over. So have you ever played hide and seek with like a 3 or 4-year-old? It's hilarious. In fact, sometimes I remember my granddaughter's telling me, she goes, I'm going to hide under the table, okay? And then you look for me, you come find me. And I'm like, all right, don't hide so hard I can't find you. But she just told me where she's going to be. But it's immaturity, too, that will keep us right here. So right here, she's under the table, and she thinks she's really hidden, but she already told me where she was at. And you can clearly see her, but then what do we all do? We're like, where are you? You know, and then you look in closets and things like that. And then you're like, oh, there you are. And it's the same kind of thing, though. Our society has trained us to the phone, to the iPad, to selfishness, to I don't want to really be aware of anyone else. I just want to take care of me, right? So if you show up just ready to take care of you, you don't have a worldview in mind. Remember I said wisdom is panoramic. That means it sees where you've been, it knows where you are now, wisdom, and it will take you where you need to go. But when you see life, your eyes are open and you see it panoramic. When we're in selfish or we're in narcissism, for instance, cannot see past your nose. It's right here. It's like, yep, it's all about me. Yep, right? And it's very difficult to reason with somebody who can only see this far. And they will feel like they're present. They're present within their own stuff, but they can't see themselves. So what happens is if a person feels insecure that they can't see themselves, many times they'll go from person to person. What do you think I'm doing? Am I okay? What do you think I'm doing? Am I all right? I mean, am I doing okay? Should I be doing this? Am I okay? Right? Because we're not aware, but we're trying to become aware. But what can happen is he can say, no, you're not doing good. And she can say, no, you suck at what you do. And she'd be like, you're wonderful. Now how confused am I? Right? So that's kind of dangerous to go from person to person trying to find out who you are. At the same time, we need to be with some big dogs who have gone somewhere. They don't know everything, though, but they have gone somewhere. You can glean some information. But part of the information application is being able to stop everything and say, I actually need to look at me. I could possibly be wrong on something. What? Maybe I'm not approaching this right. But I'm okay even if I am wrong. I'm okay. I'm all right. I just need to find out, and then I'll just change what I'm doing. And so we need people to come alongside of us, but at the same time, we don't need people to direct our every move. Am I not right? So, and sometimes we fall or we fail. Do we have permission to do that? Yeah. Sometimes we'll give ourselves too much permission. I'm just in a failing mode for the next 3 weeks. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where it's like, shoot, I screwed that up. I should not have said that. Right? But then you just call the person and say, I'm sorry or whatever, and you move on. You don't even think about it after a while. You just move on. You find a way to move on. We have to be present enough to acknowledge when we're wrong. We have to be present enough to accept when somebody tells us that we're right or compliments us. Some of us have been hurt so bad, people can compliment and it comes here and it bounces right off of us. Like, no, that's going to be too up close and personal, so we're not going to really accept that. Even if we say thank you, we're like, get off me. Right? I can't trust that whole thing. And so it makes it really difficult where trauma pushes on us where then we're not as present as we need to be. Now you add a drug to it, or I'm just going to say it this way, a sexual relationship. Just having a relationship where you're like, hey, I like that person or whatever, and we hang out, that can cause you to not focus on what's really needing to be focused on. But when it becomes sexual, your whole being is involved. So now your whole being is in the way of you seeing what's really going on. So we really have to walk through life in a way where we've got some things planned out, where I'm going to be present, and I'm going to hear from God, and I'm going to do what I feel he's asking me to do, and I want to be able to see things panoramic. I need to see where I was in the past and how it got me to this point. And then I also need to acknowledge that and see where God wants me to go in the future. And I make my decisions according to a panoramic view, not just what's right in front of me. Okay? So, how many of you have had advice from people that where it's not an advice where you're like, here's some choices you have. It's more of like, this is what you need to do. You know what you need to do? That's usually we start out. This is what I see you need to do. It's hard not to give someone advice without starting it with that. But really, our job is to give people options. So if I was trying to help any of you, my job is to give you options. If you made a poor choice before, it's not my job to, run you over with a truck because you had this problem. My job is to say, I acknowledge that, you acknowledged it, so now what are your options? Where are we going? But what happens with religion, for instance, is I'm not going to give you options. You know what you need to do? I know exactly what you need to do. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. According to my opinion, this is what you need to do. And that's something that when people come across in that, unless you have a victim's mentality where you're waiting for everyone to tell you what to do, when you have that victim's mentality, it's like, yeah, okay, I'll do whatever you want for 2 days, and then you'll go to the next person, they'll tell you to do something different, and you're bouncing all over the place. Rather than, here's my options, and I actually made this choice. Shoot, I made the wrong choice. I'm going to actually have to own that. Right? A lot of times we want to avoid that thought process. I would rather blame it on her. She's the one who told me this is what you need to do. So I did what she told me to do, and it didn't work. No, the best way in helping us when we're present is I'm owning this, and I'm going to give you a bunch of options of things you can choose from. But it is your choice. Right? But if you've been pushed with, no, this is what you're going to do, this is what you need to do, or whatever, just in everyday life, like a pushing at you, how many of you pull away from that? Right. Would you pull away from options? You might not do some of the options, but if I give you those options, I'm not supposed to police that. I'm just supposed to give you the options, right? I'm just throwing this out to you. Here's the options. Because whatever choice you make is your seed time and harvest. I'm not trying to make a seed time and harvest through you. I'm just saying, here's the things that you could do. And there is more than one way to do something. Isn't there? So, I don't know why I brought that part up, but I'm saying it, I guess, because for us to be present, we have to trust. And if you feel like you're going to get pushed without options, then you're already shut off. I don't need to be present for this. I'll just act like I'm listening. Yep, I'm not letting people tell me what to do. Right? So at the same time, if you have the question, and you don't want the answer, don't ask the question, because I will give you some options. Or you'll give you an answer that I've applied to myself. But you still have the option to go do whatever you want, don't you? So we have to be present enough to own that actually it's my choices. I'm 100% responsible for my behavior and my choices. I can't blame it on somebody else. I always use this example. One time I was teaching at Pine County Jail, and a guy was, asking a counseling question and said, well, I don't get how it's my fault, that I messed with her. Basically, he raped this lady. She was in a bikini. So even the guys in class were like, because it takes your brain a second to be like, what? And so he saw her in a bikini, which meant he didn't have any other options, is what his belief is. I had to do it. And so he said, so what's your thought on that? And I said, she could have been standing there buck naked. You don't have a right to touch her. She could have been 100% in the wrong. She could have been pole dancing naked, right? And it doesn't matter. You made the choice you made because you made the choice. See that? So in recovery, whether it be in recovery from trauma, when people see you cry, when people see you hurting or whatever, sometimes people will start out with comfort, and then later they're like, I have to control this. She's not doing the right options. I need to get at you. And sometimes that gets really overbearing, doesn't it? And so that, it's hard. It's hard. And then other times we'll be in a spot where we're trying to go after healing, and we just want somebody to come along and help us with options, and nobody says anything at all. These are ditches, right? What we're looking for, really should be looking for, is what does the Word say? Because God has the best options. Now, how do I take what the Word says and apply it to what's going on in the nowadays thing and see those options clearly? Then I'm going to make the choice, and then I'm going to answer for my choice. Right? Codependency says, if I hang with you really tight, I don't really know what choices, but what are you going to decide? Okay, I might do that too. It'll be right away. Let's just decide something together, and that way if we're wrong together. I know I should be able to be your friend and choose completely opposite than what you're choosing. I could befriend a person who's they've chosen against God and want to go to hell. In fact, they'll come right out and say, I believe that hell is going to be a good place. I can still be their friend, but I am going the other way. See, to be so present that you actually become an individual with individualized choices, still being able to love everyone no matter what their choices are, I am going to decide for me. You have to be present. So someone else had brought up, noticing people this last week. They're like, I was just noticing how I wasn't present in certain conversations. Like someone will start a conversation and I'm looking at their face and I hear their first sentence, and after a while it's like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what they said. Right? Depending on the subject, they'll actually disengage while they're looking at you and not hear what you're saying. Now, guys can go to the nothing box in their head. There is an area. I'm not saying they're stupid, but there is that spot that they actually have that most women can't go to, and that's like, I'm not thinking about anything at all. And they'll tell you that, and women will say, you can't not think about something. I'm always thinking about something. But they literally can make the choice, be like, I'm not going to think about anything right now. That's why the channel changer can go from show to show. They're not really watching anything, but they're watching stuff. Right? The problem is that's many times how a person relaxes. But now if there's a crisis in the home, like, you might want to notice the 3-year-old just started the bathroom on fire. You might want to notice that. You might want to come out of that box. It's very difficult sometimes if they haven't been trained to be present enough to notice that. And then other times we can look at a weakness of being over-exaggerated in the area we're supposed to be present, is when a woman feels and hears and sees everything, and it's too much information. Trauma can do the both. Whether it's a man or woman, it's like, I don't pay attention to my surroundings at all. I'm shutting down. And then other people, it's like, I feel everything. I can't even look at this crowd of people. It's like way too much information. How many of you here have the way too much information at times? See what I'm talking about? So that's where when somebody goes, you want to go to Mall America? You have to be in the right mood at the right moment. It has to be the right day, right? Because it's too much information coming in. There's so many choices you have to make. There's so many options, where you park, where you go, all of that. It's just too much, right? And if you do it, you come home exhausted. Am I not right? You're like, wow, okay, we'll do that again maybe next year, you know? And then there's other people, they can go all the time and they don't get wore out. The more detailed your brain picks up every little detail, the more exhausted you can be in situations. So some of us need to learn how to rein it back in and not be as hypervigilant. And others, we have to open up maybe in certain areas where we have to go, I need to pay attention to a bigger picture. Now, one of the skills that children have to learn is paying attention to when I say something, how does that make that other person feel? I don't say it and then wait to see how they feel. That's how kids do it. And that's when the mom comes along and says, you know, you shouldn't have said that. Do you know how that makes them feel? No. They honestly don't know how it would make the other person feel. But if we don't grow in that skill as adults, we will be not present enough to be able to know how other people might feel. And we will say things that it's like, well, I don't know if I'd have said that. Do you know how you just made that whole group of people feel? Did you see their facial expression? Nope. A lot of times people aren't present enough to know that. So these are all different areas that we need to work on, or that are just different ways of being present. So if there's a conflict between a husband and wife, for instance, one of them or the other will disengage, and one or the other will exaggerate. What did you say? Why did you look at me like that? How can you? All right. The other one's like, huh? What? Which will just send this person over the moon, right? Because I'm noticing every detail and you got nothing. No response, nothing. Like, do I need to take your pulse? Where are you? You know, so it's that. So when we're trying to read whether or not we're present, we have to pay attention to those things. This scripture, you might wonder after I read it, it will be like, what does that have to do with it? But I'll show you. Acts chapter 3. And this is where Peter and John. Now Peter and John were going up, verse 1, to the temple at the hour of prayer, the 9th hour, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So they had a set time of prayer. When a certain man crippled from birth was being carried along, who was laid each day at the gate of the temple, which is called Beautiful, so that he might beg for charitable gifts for those who entered the temple. Before we go on with the story, this man has already been trained to only think one way. Because for all these years, since birth, he didn't have any other options. So the only way that he was present was he was present enough to be there at a certain time, and I just got to get my food and everything by begging. That's how I got to do it, right? That's my life. That's who I am. That's my identity. And so he would, before people would enter the temple, he'd ask them for something. So when he saw Peter and John about to go into the temple, he asked them to give him a gift. So you got to put yourself in the story. He's sitting there all the time, doing the same thing all the time, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, sun's beating down. I've been doing this since birth. Next, there's a new person. I should ask them. The only thing he could see was to keep that routine, right? And Peter, I love this. So when he saw Peter and John about to go into the temple, he asked them to give him a gift. This part is so important. And Peter directed his gaze intently at him. And so did John. And he said, look at us. See, Peter could have went by and said, like you say, she was begging for money. You know, you got alms for the poor, or however you want to do it, or whatever. And you go, no, not today. Kind of like when they're selling cookies in front of Walmart. Oh, that's really hard to, because they have that certain kind of cookie. But anyways, but a lot of times we'll just go, no thanks, and we just walk in. We are not present with them at all. In fact, we don't give them any space if we don't want to buy whatever is out there. We don't turn to them. Most people don't go up and look and go, hey, you're doing a great job, thanks. But I'm going to say no, and I'm going to, because you'd have to be really present to do that. You don't want to give them that, because while you're present, they might ask you something deeper. And so we don't want to take a chance of that. So if we already know we're approaching, you stiffen a little bit. You're like, I got to say something. Walk faster. right? Because you're about to go into Walmart and you know that they're there. It's just a little kid selling cookies. But you got to be able to say something. So we'll say it real quick and we'll walk on. The same thing was done to this man over and over. Over and over. Not today. Not today. Go home. Or say nothing at all. Have you ever done that? Where you could feel like the heat on this side of your face. They're asking, do you want to buy any? You're like, and you walk faster and the heat on this side of your face, like, I just dissed on them. I didn't even answer that little kid. It's, I remember doing that years ago. Now I like to engage with people. So I usually end up talking to the kids. How long have you been doing this? What team are you on or whatever? And whether I give money or not. So, and I'm able to look at them and say, I don't actually have anything today. I don't have any cash on me. So, but I just want you to know you're doing a great job. Well, thank you. And then you go in, right? You have to be present to do that. But if you don't want to be present, you do the heat on the side of your face, walk fast, and go in. So here, Peter and John didn't do that. They turned, and the Amplified says they looked intently into his face, into his eyes, and the eyes are the gateway to the soul. And you can bet he knew they were present. They were all in it. Right? Their whole everything was there, and they were going to give him an answer. So that's what we're after. We're after being so present that God can use us at any time because we're not all over the charts. We're pulled in, and we're focused. And to get that focus, we have to get healed. The more trauma you went through, the less you will focus, or you'll be over-focused on the wrong things. All right, so he says, and Peter directed his gaze intently at him, and so did John, and said, look at us. I want to see your eyes. Right? And the man paid attention to them. So I like words, and when you think about what you're really saying, paid attention. So what did they pay with for this thing that they attended to? Right? He had to take his time, his energy, and everything, and go at that moment like, I'm going to take part of me and pay to attend this. Pay attention. Right? So he's going to stop, and he's going to do this, expecting that he was going to get something from this. So the only thing, though, that when he had learned, when somebody focused and was present, I'm probably going to get a charitable gift. Right? Because he looked at me. Now, I've helped people. I love helping people that, especially vets or whatever, that are begging at a corner, whether they're ripping me off or not. Sometimes it's a total rip-off. Sometimes it's a real deal. But it gives me an opportunity to stare and gaze into their eyes and to talk to them and to find out their story, right? But it's almost always they'll try to bring the story around to what they've practiced. Are you going to give me some money? Whether I have money or not, I'm going to stare at them for a different reason. I want to give them something different. Silver and gold, money, I do not have, he said. But what I do have, I give to you in the use of the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Walk. So what happened is they were so present that what they said is, yeah, I am coming with something, but not what you expect. I have a whole different option. Get up and walk. They brought healing to him. He didn't see that one coming. Did he? No, but he paid attention enough to see the gaze that they had, to see their intensity. Then he took hold of the man's right hand with a firm grip and raised him up. And we've talked about this before on Saturday night. There's something about the firm grip, too. You got the little whiny handshake where you shake someone's hand. You're like, I don't know what that was. Like, was that a handshake? It kind of felt really kind of wormy, sort of committal, but not really. And then you've got the overbearing where you're like, actually, that hurt. Thank you. You didn't have to break my fingers. But, that person's really getting way too whatever. But he grabbed him with a firm grip, took hold of the man's right hand with a firm grip and raised him up. And at once his feet and ankle bones became strong and steady. They were so present in how they felt about the moment. What the answer was, like, they probably walked by this guy all the time. They went to the temple. Well, there's that bigger guy. Not today. We're not walking by today. We've been with Jesus, right? And so they're going to look into his eyes and they, with an intent, like, you about to get healed. And he paid attention. Both were present, even if just for the moment. And they pulled him up, and he was healed. And he went rejoicing into the temple, made a big to-do. People were like, what? Why? Because those same people hadn't given him the time of day. Most of them, just walking by. How do you know that? To a certain degree, if you cannot walk or whatever, and it's hot out, and you're sitting on a mat every day, and you've been out there already 3 hours, if somebody gives you $100, you're going home. I can eat today, right? I could probably eat tomorrow or the next day off of that. That's awesome. I'm not going to sit here and just do that. But you know that he sat there, and he sat there. He was very familiar to everybody at the temple. But that day, he got to look right in the eyes. Pay attention. How many of you here have been prophesied over where somebody just all of a sudden said, you, and all of a sudden the look, and you connected, and you were like, I'm going to pay attention to this. And something got downloaded, and then disengaged. You have to be present on both sides to really receive that. What happens when you don't want to receive that? What's your body action? Yeah. And here's what it kind of looks like. We start to do like this. I don't know. I'm revving up to do something, but I'm not going to look you in the eye. I am not going to give you the eye contact. And if I do, it'll about out the corner, like, yeah, okay, yeah, my name's Mary. What you need, you know. And it isn't the like, let's do this. We do that with God. We do that when there's a prayer line. There's a like debate. Here's an option. Here's an option. I don't know. And we'll have that thing where it's like, I don't know if I can be present. If you're not present enough to receive, you won't receive. It isn't like you turn and you walk out the door and suddenly the presence of God hits you between the shoulder blades and you're like, I didn't make it out. I tried to make it out, but I didn't get out this time. God got me. No, that you walk on, my friend. You're going to walk for miles. His presence is still wanting to pull you in, but you have to choose to be present. See that? So what if our miracle was just that? If you have to pay attention, right? You take it out of your attention wallet and you're like, I've been having my attention on I've been spending my attention on all kinds of things. But today, I'm going to take what I have and I'm going to pay attention to this. What if your miracle is in that moment? Yeah? That's why it's dangerous to not be able to pay attention. You know what we culture in preschoolers is attention span. And right now, the attention spans on little kids are very short. Not because they're little kids, but because they're being trained to be very short. Because we're not as long of attention span as the generation before us or the generation before us. And there's a difference. You know there's a difference if you go to Africa for one of their conferences where the people walk 50 to 75 miles with their baby strapped to their back in the heat with just a bottle of water because they're going to get to the service. And when they get to the service, they press in. There's no chairs. They press in. They want to get to the front of the altar if they can do that. Sometimes there's 10,000 people or more. And then you wait. You better have an attention span to do something like that, huh? But many of them haven't been trained to, we're watching this show, no, we're flipping it to that show, we're going over here. No, I changed my mind. No, I think I'm going to go to the store. No, I think I'm going to. No. We got to get food and water today. So their attention gets really focused. Ours is all over the place. And part of recovery is when we use a drug and we sedate our mind, it seems like it calms it down. But when it comes back alive off that drug, it's twice as fast as it used to be. Right? So pot will calm down the brain to go, hey, yeah, man. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, Ash, huh? You know what I'm talking about. And it's so beautiful in here anyway. And so, but then as that leaves, if you don't continue to smoke it, then what happens is that same synaptic nerve will end up doing this, and you'll be uptight. You know? You're like, I gotta go get me some more. Well, then you gotta smoke it so much more. And it's a constant thing, isn't it? So that's with a downer. But if you take an upper automatically makes your brain, some people, their brain is already fast firing, like someone with ADHD. Anybody in here suffer that? All right? So you put something in there, and you would think that's going to blow a circuit. Like math, you're like, in the first hour, that's going to blow a circuit. Actually, most people will be like, I can think clearer. Mm-hmm. Because your brain is firing way fast, and just like Ritalin, the theory is you put something fast in, then it seems to calm it down. But how long can you sustain that? You can't. So then you have to up it and up until all the circuits in your brain just blow out one day. Right on? So that's hard, and really what we're looking for, peace causes us to settle and have a longer attention span. Like in worship. When we first started the church here, if we made it to 3 songs, and you only could sing through the song once, sometimes twice, that's it. People were like already, you know, doing the dance. Then you squish the chair in front, and you do the whole, pace thing back and forth, and then people got to go to the bathroom, constant. Like there was a constant. Now we still have that, don't we, Mary? But you were here in those first, it was just like, what is happening? It was like a dance was going on. People would just go down to the bathroom, and then they come back, waiting for those 3 songs to get over. Lord, help us. So I can always tell when somebody's coming off of something because there's no attention span. Mm-hmm. And so people get up and they pace and they walk. And what did I say last week? What happens is the statement that we make is this: so boring. Everything's so boring. Because your mind's been firing and you were looking for something to come up and equal that. When really you need to train the brain to come back to where halfway normal is. Right? I have a fast-firing brain. I don't need drugs to do that. I don't need caffeine to do it. If I was a coffee drinker, I don't even think you'd like me. Because I already talk a mile a minute, can talk for hours. When I get preaching, I'm a preaching machine. That's without coffee. I don't know. It could get scary. So, but I've had to learn to train my brain when I'm listening to somebody. I will finish someone's sentences. I am a reader of people. I've had it. I just shared this with somebody again. I was walking across the street when there was all kinds of construction, and they had blocked the street, and people were having to reroute or whatever. And so I'm coming this way, and a lady's coming that way. And I look up at her before I go, I know, right? That's what I said. And she looked at me, and she was like, I didn't say anything. I know. And it just came out of my mouth. I was talking about how this is blocked off. And she goes, that's exactly what I was thinking. Then we stared at each other awkwardly, and I was like, okay. Anyway, and I just kept moving. Because I'm already picking up where by her body language and everything, we're on the same page, so it just came out my mouth. Fast firing, I'll do that. So, but we have to learn how to be present enough to acquire where we're at. Do we really know where we're at here tonight within ourselves? How at peace are we really? So this is what the brain does. It will automatically look for the answer, and this is what they've proven. It will look for your worst moment and compare to that. No, I'm at peace. At least I'm not like that. So I must be at peace. You could be the farthest thing from the peace of God right now. But your measurement's off because we compare to the worst of the worst. Then when we get in the best of the best, where the peace of God falls on a congregation, and you're there, and it's that moment where nobody can even talk, and the singing stops, and the music keeps playing, and it's an aha moment or whatever. It's totally different. You have to be able to receive that. You have to be able to house that. And we compare it to that, then we're like, yeah, I'm off tonight. I'm messed up tonight. I'm antsy right now. Pay attention to things that you do. How often when you go home tonight are you going to open the refrigerator? Not really intending to eat anything. But you're going to look. And by the fifth time, you already have memorized what's in there, and whatever you were looking for ain't there anyway because it wasn't there before. You're like, it's got to be in there. The thing that, and what you're waiting to is you're waiting for something to call out. So you look in there and you're like, call out to me. Nothing's calling me. And you close it. But you want something, right? And so pay attention to that because you might not even be hungry. You might just need a glass of water. 80% of people are dehydrated. And so we get, well, you know, if you eat an apple, it's got water in it. If you eat steak, there's a certain amount of water. I mean, there's something about it that just goes, okay, you're going to satiate with it. But you might just need a glass of water. But if you're not in tune with your body or present about yourself, you're not going to know what you need. So here's the key I want you to watch for. When you've opened the fridge and you look, when you're pacing or whatever, catch the fact that why am I doing this? We catch the fact right when we're like, crap, I just used. You might want to back the train up a little bit. Find the pattern before you ever get to that point. Are you talking faster? Are you on your phone moving at a faster rate? Are you pacing more? Yes. Yes. So there's something where you're grabbing, you're looking out, and do you catch yourself in that? Are you present enough to know when you've started the pattern? Before you ever use, it's been days before that. Then someone says something to you don't like, and then you're like, yeah, I can't deal with that. I'm just not even thinking about it. All right, you just added to the load. Now you're going to pace more. You didn't resolve something. You don't have an answer for something. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. It starts coming out your mouth a lot. I don't know. Whatever.
Last time I dreamed it.
You dreamt yourself using?
I dreamt myself using, and then by that day, by the afternoon, I was already craved out, and I was already headed in. But God gave me a way out. And why are you doing this? No, and I was like, oh, and then I settled for what I used to be like, and how I'm doing a lot better now. And then as soon as I get on it, I'm that much more crazier.
Yeah.
Than the last time, and it never works out.
Yeah.
Good at all.
And you have to remind yourself, do I like me when I'm high? To begin with, you're like, this feels so cool. You know, you're feeling the drug. But after the aftermath of the stories and the things, you're like, yeah, I hate how I am. I don't like it. So let's take it back away from heroin and acid and all that stuff. Do you like who you are when you eat a half a cake? You like that feeling? But as weird is when you go to remind yourself of that, you're like, I'm not eating all the little Debs. I'm just not doing it. I'm going to remind myself I almost threw up the last time, right? So there's something to that where you have to remember, you have to be present enough to remember the bad times too. And remind yourself, like, remember that? Remember what you said when you were hugging the porcelain throne? Remember the promises? Remember how you felt like your guts were coming out your eyeballs when you were throwing up? Remember? Do you want that? So there's something about being present enough that we're panoramic enough that we have to go, let's visit how that used to be. Okay, no, I don't want that. Well, here I am presently craving. Don't want that. What can I have? I don't know what my options are over here. You have to be present enough to think of options. Phone a friend, get in a group, right? Go for a walk. Going for a walk releases oxygen in your system if you actually breathe when you're doing it. Because some people who are totally stressed hardly breathe the whole time they're walking. So what it tells the brain is you're dying, and so you're actually more stressed when you come home. So big portion is, I do that even if I'm walking by people. They're like, what a weird chick. I don't care. And you see how long you can get the breath to go out, but you also see how long you can take it in your nose. How many seconds you can do that. Now you're oxygenizing your body, gives your brain a different message, and it's like, I think I'm going to be okay. It actually releases a relaxant, a hormone in the brain that goes, you can relax now. Yeah? Some people are so wound they don't get that until they get the runner's high. And the runner's high for them might be 5 miles out. That's how wound they are. Yeah? What are some other things that we do that we can catch ourselves in those first steps? What are some things where you're like, you know, he reminded himself of, hey, that's what happened last time. We don't want that. Remind yourself of jail. I don't really want to do that either. You know, some things like that. What are some things you can do once you are present enough to know, I think I'm entering this beginning of a cycle? To show you? Yeah. Yep. Yep. What else you got? Meditate on, and then he'll reveal to you. Right. So how many of you have had that experience where you can slow down enough to read the word because you know you're about to cycle? And the cycle starts up like a train. It's like choo, 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 choo. And if you don't catch it in the beginning, choo, 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 then after a while you're just throwing coal in. You know, like, get this baby fired up. If we're going to wreck, we might as well just take her off the end of a mountain. You know what I mean? It's so you have to catch it in the, like, I'm not going to put any fuel in this thing. Really, that's the best place. I'm not even getting on the train. Right? So sometimes we'll be like, let me just look on the train and remember how. No, don't even get on the train. But if you get on, then you're going to be tempted, like, fill her up, baby. Just a little. I just want to go just a little. I just want to be a little dangerous right now. I'm not going to really do anything. You're already cycling. We have to be present enough to know what is our cycle way back before we drink. Do you know that your brain, your subconscious, can predict if you're in an abusive relationship when that next abuse can happen? Up to a year out. It's crazy. And you will feel the anxiety of something you've already experienced, knowing that it's coming, and it'll sit, and I always call it the flutter. It's fluttering back there in your subconscious. And you're like, shh, quiet. And it just sits in there. It just vibrates. It's an energy. And that energy will cause you to move, cause you to do things like that. I will tell you, whether you see yourself or not, whether it be diabetic or hypoglycemic or alcoholism, which they can all play in the same kind of playground because you're having blood sugar issues, people will have a reaction, whether you know you're doing it or not. This is one of the things. A lot of that goes on. Okay, yeah. So you go, but that's not your main drug of choice. Yours would be meth, right? Right? Who else? Do you know your body action before you start to do something? What is it? Can you see yourself? You get fidgety. How about you? Did you have something? Same thing. What does fidgety look like on you? Yeah, the hair thing, huh? You'll just get going. Some people start itching. They don't even know their body's reacting, and they'll just like itch. And, scratch the top of their hands or the palms, because here's where your nerve endings end. And if you're feeling anxious, you'll scratch your hands. Skin picking. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I had a lady that she was an awesome Bible teacher. But whenever she would go to teach, she would start, it's not picking her skin, but she'd do this on her clothes. It's really distractive. But if you could get about, just look at her face, man, what was coming out of her was so anointed. But she would, and it was constant. Well, later we dug into that because I taught on some of this, and she's like, I had no idea I was doing that. She couldn't even see that she was doing that. So are you aware when you start picking? Or do you have to like really pick a lot before you're like, shoot, I'm picking?
It depends. I mean, there are times when I can start and like, oh, I'm doing it, but sometimes I can get into it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can lead and keep doing it,
Yeah.
while I'm leading.
Anybody else have suffered that? Where you're picking? And that doesn't have to be a heroin thing or a meth thing or whatever. One of the things that happens in the nursing homes is that they have to watch, and they'll actually label, they'll be like, watch bed 4, that person's a picker. Right? And if they pick, their skin is so thin, there's going to be blood everywhere. Right? So there's something about that. So twirling the hair, pacing. What else you got that you know? Holding the breath. I bet you, if I tracked you, most of you would hold your breath when you're feeling anxious. It's just, and you can talk. It's weird. Your body's been trauma trained, so what it'll do is it'll talk for a long period of time, and you don't have to take a breath, and you can go for a long ways, and I still haven't breathed yet. But what I've done is I've apportioned my air because I've learned how to talk, and sometimes then you're talking faster because you have to keep that portions. You don't understand what I'm going through right now. Everybody's kind of picking on me, and I just don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. And you take that little short breath in between, and your body's like, I'm pretty sure we're dying right now because there's like not enough oxygen in the brain. Yes? You're a picker too? Pick them. Yeah, and I've had a lot of people who will say right up front, it's not meth mites. I'm a picker. And but I can tell you what, they are. They haven't used meth. Your UA is clean or whatever, and they literally will pick on their face until, now you add meth to it, you're definitely going to have some picking to do. Yeah, people are never together on the same plane. They always are the opposites, yeah.
I either get like I either get the short attention span, or I just get the completely, like, just mind shut off, where I just don't think about anything. Those are my two things.
Well, when I would help at schools, and you'd have that little kid who'd kick the teacher in the leg and be violent or whatever, and then I would go in and help alongside of that. You couldn't come in to the level where they're at. You had to come in quieter, less body actions. A lot of times we'll be like, oh my, aren't you kids? We're doing all that. That is not what they need. They need completely the opposite. And they need somebody to gaze into their eyes and talk calm. Right? It's okay, Billy. We're going to get this done. See, it demands like a respect, or there's something there that you're not being threatening, but all of a sudden they're like, thank you, because I was about to lose it. That's what their brain's saying. Because literally they're just like, and you have to give them something opposite of what they're doing. Well, guess what, as adults, what do we need? We need the opposite. So sometimes people will interpret that that I don't love them. I'll meet them out on the street or Walmart or whatever. You don't understand what I'm going through, and and they're really feeling what they're feeling, and they're expecting me to go, oh my gosh, No, I'm not going to give you that, because that's not what you need. That might be what you want, but I have to give you what you need. Somebody has to ground you. If I go with you, we're both going to crash land this plane. Right? We're going to go up, woo, and then it's going to, right? And then we'll look at each other. Yeah, I can tell now you love me. No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. And so that's even, sometimes we'll have a person crying in the prayer line or whatever. If you got tears running down your face, you're showing empathy. If you're getting all mushy, okay, you're going too far. They need to let God meet them right where they're at. They need to be present, right? You can be there with them, but you're not going to take that spot over and benefit them at all. So, all right, so what's another one where you've entered the cycle? Could be days before you ever use. And when I say use, it could just be like I'm going gambling, or it could be, not that I'm downplaying that, it could be like I'm going to read a bunch of novels and lock myself in my room. I mean, these are patterns that aren't going to benefit your life. Yeah. Yeah, you just go to that. Yeah, and you start to think about that or be obsessed with it before you ever do it. The obsessed thoughts. What do we do when we're stuck in the obsessed thoughts? It's like it's too late. I'm already on the train. Somebody put coal in the engine. And it's starting to do the choo, 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 choo. This thing's moving. I still got a chance to jump off, but it is moving. Right? And you only have so long to debate if you're going to jump off this thing or you're going to stay on. Sometimes it's only seconds. That's hard. So those thoughts need to be submitted to God. And we can say that. I can say that very religiously. Well, just submit your thoughts to God. And then you go, okay, I'll do that. I'm on a moving train right now. My whole body's involved. My whole chemical system is shaking. I feel high anxiety. I'm not even thinking straight, but I'm going to do that right now. Well, you can to whatever degree you're still left there. But sometimes you got to call somebody. You got to have somebody like, get me off this train now. Don't you? It's just what we do. But once we're on it and it's moving, most people don't ask for help. And what's hard for the people who would have just pulled you off the train if they'd have known or whatever is if the train wrecks, if there's something like that, it's really hard to know, there they go. And we're all just supposed to wave goodbye. Have a good trip. Literally, right? No, there's grieving involved. There's hurt involved. But when we're on the train, we're not present enough with those people to care what they think. So part of it was really sweet. We went to Teen Challenge and ministered, Mary and I, and one guy was sharing. He was from the Isani area, and he was sharing how he got to go back and go to somebody and ask forgiveness. He was excited about that. That I'm going to go and I'm going to say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. And he was able to own that. When he was on the train, let's say, and the thing was chugging down the road, and he was on a trip, right? Those people didn't matter. And it doesn't matter to the point someone dies. I don't care. I'm on a trip right now. I don't care what's happening. And the wildest part is addiction will make you, and trauma-based addiction especially, will make you on the train, and you're like yelling out the windows, your fault, I'm on here. I would be on here if you didn't say that to me. Somehow we're like justified that we're on the train, and yeah, it's going faster now. Hope that teaches you a lesson. Somehow we're all going to go, oh, I had no idea. I'll do better next time. No, it's your choice. 100% responsible for your own behaviors. You should have never got on the train. Now, it's difficult that when you try to get off the train, right? Or you come off the trip and you're off the train, you're not the same person you were for a while. And sometimes people have been on the train so much, they get off, they're never the same again. And that's the chance you take. But isn't it weird? Think about it, how weird this is. We can see our friend lose speech, almost die, think they know when the second coming of Christ is, They're paranoid. They think people are tracking them or looking into whatever's going on. Or we can see that, and they don't come back from that. And we're like, wow, they should have run the train better. That's not how I ride the train. We feel like we're superheroes that we could get on there and it's not going to happen to us. And all it takes is one time and you wake up dead, right? I hate those telephone calls. Like if there's something that will get me a-going, like I get a mixture of crying and I'm angry. Because I'm like, oh, we should have derailed that train. If I'd have known where it was heading, right? If I'd have known it was going to Yuma, I would have done something. There would have been some, it makes you mad. That's how much it's grievous to the people who are watching as you're waving. Too bad I'm on here. It's your fault. No. We have to own our behavior before we'll be present enough to not get on another train. If we don't know how to own our behavior, we're just going to get on the next train out. Especially if trauma gets triggered, if we feel judged, if we feel picked at, if we feel less than, that people are like, you're crazy. Well, yeah, it feels justified to get on the train then, doesn't it? But just because their poor behavior doesn't make my poor behavior helpful. Two wrongs don't make a right. But it still hurts, doesn't it? Yes, it does. And I just love that Peter and John, they had an awakening. Like whether he was sitting there or not all this time, that's his expectation. He just wants to we're supposed to give him money. I'm going to church. No, they came there different. They had been in the presence of God. They were present. And now, I'm not giving you money. Let's not give you money anymore. Let's just make you well. That's how God rolls. But when we're in the pattern of riding the train, we just get in the same game all the time. You should have stopped me. Hey, I'm going on the train right now. I'm acting out. Did you see that I was pacing? You should have noticed. Right? And then the train's headed out. It's really hard. I have known people that they knew they were on the train. It was going fast. They owned their behavior in the middle of their high and threw themselves off the train, right? And you do that, it might have a positive thing. It might be that you crashed your car trying to make it stop, and now you're dead. Am I not right? I love that the school started out by, the policy, just say no. That's the most baby step to deal with addiction. You can't get much more baby step than just say no. Right? That's when you're teaching a little kid, just say no. Just say no. Well, it doesn't work that way with the train. You have to say no, but you know where you need to say no? Way back away from the train station. Because you get anywhere near and you take that first step on that thing, your no doesn't mean no anymore. Right? You're like, yes, yeah. That's how it comes out. And you're like, no. Where when you're away from it, you're like, no. I'm not going down to that part of the city. I'm not going to go over here, whatever. That's where the station is. I'm not getting on the train. We're not doing that thing. I'm not dressing up with my railroad outfit. Because that's what we do. We're like, well, I'm not going to use or anything, but we get all, dressed up, and then we're going, so I'm just going to go dance for a little bit. That's all. I'm just here to dance. Well, why are you dressed like you're getting on a train? And sometimes it's a pretty skanky train. Am I not right? It's like, we're getting on the skanky train tonight. But I'm not doing anything. And you lie to yourself. When you lie to yourself, you're not present. Your addictive self now just told your real self to be quiet. What does your addictive personality act like? Because you cannot have addictive behavior without, when you're in full-blown addiction, you are going to act different than the you we all know. You had something? No? He's leaving right now. We know what that means. I release you. No. He's got an attention span, yeah. He paid attention. That's how he knew to say that. So, anyways. So, we're talking about, getting on the train, really, you have to know yourself before you ever get to that point. For instance, let's say, for those of you at River City Recovery, they have classes during the day, okay? First, a lot of times people will be like, well, I don't know if this makes sense, it's stupid. Then you move to the phase where it's like, all right, I'll do it. But then if you find yourself going, I need out of here, and then you'll start being aggravated by people's facial expressions when they're talking. The fact that the coffee wasn't made right. Things like that. And it doesn't even have to do with really the teaching. It's the fact that, no, I just don't like this. It's too far to walk. And we start doing that kind of body language, then we're starting to pace. You're cycling already. You are cycling already. No, I'm not. I'm not I'm just saying I don't like when they set it up that way. Or whatever it is. If it's not River City, it's, Teen Challenge or whatever. There's that phase we go through where it's like, I have to get out of here. I'm so bored. I can't stand it. This is stupid. And at that point, your brain will say, let's not be present. You wanna? Let's run away. We don't need to be present. There's got to be a way. So you'll find your thought pattern switching over to, I'm actually not thinking of options to how I'm going to stay put. I'm actually thinking of every option of how I can book it, how I can get out of here. But I'm not going to get on the train. I know better now. Right? And all of a sudden you hear, choo, choo. And you're like, well, I don't know. Yeah. 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 But if you notice, there was nobody upset with you. We totally got it. We were like, yep, that is right where she's at right now, right? Been there. Yeah. That's a lot to take in. You found out some things about your body. You found out where you're going. Yeah. Yeah. So then you'll sit, and if you're not careful, you'll hear the train coming round the bend. Down, 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 down. I don't know when, but I'm in Folsom Prison, right? That's usually where you're going to end up, right? Someplace like that. I don't know all the words to it, but you see what I'm saying? There's something about, you got to know where the train stations are located.
Mine is in social media. It starts hitting me really, really hard. The messenger starts going off, and I went to block certain people. My pastor's coming back, and it's like on a full platter, everything that I could ever imagine as an addict.
Yeah.
I get like all these offers, and hey, and hey, and hey, and hey, and then instead of me feeding into it and saying, hey, I don't live like that no more, I'm a new creation in Christ, I start settling for what they have to say.
Yeah.
And it's my fault every time I jump on the train, the
Yeah.
train is inviting, like just choo choo, here I am, jump on, let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And that gets me every time. It's the devil's playground. It's the social media.
Yeah.
But as soon as I start putting down my word, little by little, and keep getting busy in the worldly things, and the less of my studies, and I start not being around Christian people, other believers,
Yeah.
and I'm stuck, right? I'm on the train, and that happens
Yeah.
along weeks even.
Before it ever happens.
Before it even happens.
And usually if somebody would say at that point, I think you're cycling, you're like, I am not. What? Stop picking at me. I'm not cycling. Really?
She says, just say no. I told you. How come you just say no?
Yeah.
It's on the simple.
Yep. She would have been in the age group when that started. Just say no. And I can remember saying no and standing there smoking pot. Nope. Anyways, supposed to say no, and it was a big joke. Like, we should have just said no. Well, when you have trauma, you've already been run over. And part of riding the train is almost like people who ride boxcars. It's like, I'm going to go do something dangerous. stupid, don't know where I'm going, don't know if I'm going to eat, what's going to happen, or whatever, but aren't we going to have a good time? Right? So there's something about that, and social media is huge when it comes to that, because let's be honest, how many of us look to social media for how many likes we get? I mean, people go, no, I don't. Really? So then no one liked that person, and their little picture of when they went up north, right? And suddenly you're not posting as many pictures, and we're upset, and why did they like Ashley's and they didn't like mine? And it gets to be competitive and everything else. And sometimes the best thing you can do is shut it off completely. Here's the other thing. If you go 7 days sobriety, 7 months sobriety, yeah, the old dealer goes, I don't think so. And they'll send it out. There's a message. They're like, send out the sentinels. Let's get the trains rolling, right? Early morning trains, too. We don't want them to have any rest. Late night, during the day, let the whistles go off as much as we can. Are you sure? Are you sure you're sober? Are you sure? I don't see you, that sober person. That's the language. I think you're believing that right now just because you got in trouble. Let's just ride. Okay, if you're going to be sober, then let's just ride the train one more time. One more time. And I always think of my son Jesse when he was 2. One more time, then that's it, no more, Mommy. And then you go down the slide, and you're like, okay, we got to go. No, just one more time. Then that's it, no more, And so, it's like, well, how many one more times are we going to have? So you got to go. And so then we learned how to say goodbye to the slide. You come by, goodbye, and I remember him one time kissing it. We had to say goodbye. He was like, see you later. But it was his way of disengaging him from the thought of, like, I got to have one more time. So how many of you got sucked into, many times or just once, the one more time when you said, I'm never doing it again? And then the thought isn't like one more time. It's one more time, then that's it. No more, okay, Mommy? Right? That's the thought. But it's not true. That's not true. But the sensation when you say, then no more, that sensation says, and because it's the last time I'm going to do something, I'm going to use everything possible to the point of almost death. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah? Yeah. And then it's like, whoa, I can never do that again. If you live through that, I can never do that again. But it only takes so long to be one more time. Then that's it. Okay, Mommy? Just one more time. Right? And he had a little chubby cheeks, so it was really, I'm like, I just want to let you go again. But I did tell you we got to go. So I had to teach him how to disengage. And so, and we need to learn how to disengage. So I have had people through the years say, Pastor Mary's too pushy, too in your face, too whatever. Okay, and I'm not here to complain about that. I am who I am. But what would you have said of Peter if you were laying there on a mat? Go, man, you got anything? You got a pack of cigarettes? When he was laying on the mat, he'd come, dude, you got any cocaine? Just before you go in church, just got anything? Just a little something. Just make me well. And here, this guy wasn't an addict, but he was trained in his way of thinking. I'm not well, so I'm not well. So I got to beg for money because I'm not well. I was born like this, so I'm not well. This is who I am. And Peter and John, looking at him, basically said, that's not who you are. That's what they said. I have something I'm going to give you. And then you're going to realize who you are. Get up. You are well. See? So sometimes I will do that call, or I will look you in the face, and I've been accused of all kinds of things, but from my side of it, I hate the telephone call. So-and-so passed away. With a passion. Like, I don't even know how to put it in big enough words to be like, just, no, that's what comes up inside of me. Because you count. You mean something. You count. I say let's blow up the train. Now, I'll probably go online, and I'll get tagged, and they'll think we're going to blow up the train here in Cambridge. No, we're not doing that. That's not what I'm talking about. No, but You know what I'm saying? It's like I have gone into drug houses and talked to people that were the dealers because somebody got so sick. And then we all go, there's a dealer in that house. Wow. And we're all afraid. Somebody's got to go say something. Do something. Right? I walked down here because it's like drug lane down here, right? I told one guy, I said, I'm about had it with the drugs moving about in here. What? There's a what? It's kind of obvious. You hear the whistle of the train day and night, right? And we all know it's there. And then for some of you, your houses are here, so what you have to do, you have to be, stay in the house. Why? I should be able to go outside and walk on a street and it be safe. Something unsafe should not tell me what to do. I'm not getting on the train. In fact, we might have to run the train out of town. You either get healed or something. Right? That's pretty strong. But how are we going to deal with this? It's getting worse and worse and worse. Teaching like this so we can get empowered. Once we know how to stay off the train, man, we can turn and help other people do that. At the same time, if you think I'm strong about it, absolutely. I marry and bury as a pastor, and I hate those funerals. I'm like, you want to see me pace? I pace. I'm crying for the person, but it's like, this is so wrong. It's so wrong. The system of it is so wrong. It's so demonic. No. That's what happens with me. So just in case you ever see me like that, right? So I'm going to have a passion. But I also, what just drives me is when I see the high you, and I look in your eyes, I'm like, I can see what God intended. And I don't want what God intended to wake up dead. Right? The world gets caught up in the drug you. It's like, that's what they act like when they're high, whatever. I'm concerned about the person inside. And you need to be present enough to care about yourself, to know how to reach out for help, to make those telephone calls. Don't make people chase you on the train. Sometimes when people chase a train, they fall underneath and get run over. I've seen family members do that. It's like, well, grandma had a heart attack, chasing so-and-so. It happens. Don't make people chase you. We've got to find the cycle in the beginning. There may be people here tonight that you're like, I think I might have entered the cycle. It's getting close to Christmas. There's a lot of pressure going on. Thanksgiving didn't rock the way you wanted it to. Whatever it is. If you're not careful, you enter the cycle. What you said tonight, Carrie, was so powerful. That was so present. Right? What happened on Saturday was like, crap, I'm about to be present, right? And you're like, where do I put it? Where do I put it? Where do I put it? And so you had to take a break, really is what you did. And then here you are tonight just going, I'm present. I'm going to say what upset me. I'm rocking it. That's powerful. Let's give her a hand. Yeah. So let's stand. You did? Yeah. Well, we get, and here you are, right? Beautiful as ever. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We had a song, I said, hold that song for the end because we're going to sing that. Because what I'm doing, you'll find me doing this for weeks to come now because times are going to get tougher in this world. Miracles are going to happen more because miracles always meet in the face of traumatic things. Lots of people are suffering right now. There's a lot going on. But we have to learn then how to stop everything and just be present with God. If he's the way, the truth, and the life, and he is, and no man comes unto the Father except through him, we have to slow everything down enough that we can find him and think straight. Look at him rock it. Yeah, I like that. So when we slow it down, what we're really saying is, I want this moment meaningful. You're not going to rob me of a meaningful moment. Anybody can get on the train, but when I mean it in that moment and I say no, the all of me is present. See? Let's go ahead and play this song. We're going to sing with this. We'll even dim the lights a little bit so we can just concentrate on him. Ooh. Help us, Lord. Help us have our brain line up with our heart and our heart line up with our stomach brain, that all of us, ooh,